Hola y bienvenidos to the Magic by Design podcast. We took a whirlwind tour of South America this week when we watched Disney's sixth animated feature film, Saludos Amigos. If you're not familiar with the premise by now, we are attempting to watch and review every Disney animated feature film. Every week, we go on an animated voyage of discovery in the hopes of finding out the secrets behind the magic of the House of Mouse's lasting appeal. There's even a song at the end. What more would you want from a Disney-themed podcast? I am joined, as always... Sorry, I'm Ken. I should say that. And I am joined, as always, by mi hermano y mi co-anfitrión, Garrett. Gar, how are you?
You should do the stuff... Your Spanish is better than your English. You should do the stuff in Spanish the whole time.
I know, I was actually super worried about doing this intro because I was like, I put some Spanish in there because it's a Spanish movie, and I was like, could I get the lines out? And it turns out I'm better in Spanish.
Yeah, I'm going to bury Ken because he's going to edit out the flubs in that intro. But he got some of the English wrong and all of the Spanish right the first time. So Ken should do this. And you did French in school. You didn't even learn Spanish.
Mi corazón is Spanish.
Yeah, you should always do this in Spanish. Suddenly this should become a Spanish language podcast and you'd have less editing on yourself.
Yeah, maybe I was Spanish in a previous life.
Sure, or in the multiverse.
Am I the kid from Coco?
I don't know. That's dead. That's not the multiverse. That's the afterlife.
Well, like...
The afterlife and the multiverse are two different things, Ken.
So you're saying that there's, like, every nationality, there's, like, a Ken for that in different universes?
Well, you see, if you consider that in some other alternate universe, Dad could have married a Spanish woman, and there could be a Spanish Ken. So, in the multiverse, there could be a Spanish Ken.
What's the Spanish equivalent of Ken?
I have no idea.
Keno.
That's just racist.
No, that's what my Italian friends call me, Keno, so that's Italian.
Why do they call you Keno?
Because, like, there's no Italian for Ken. There's no Kens in Italy, so they just call me Keno.
Rightfully so. They've purged Italy of the Kens. I should go to Italy. It's probably a better place.
Gar, Saludos Amigos?
Yes, it's a film I've never heard of. I've heard of Donald Duck.
You have? You share the same birthday, which is coming up.
Which is tomorrow as we release this. We release this on June 8th. Donald Duck was born into the world on June 9th, 1934. I was born into the world on June 9th, 1992. We are both spiritual figures. We both do not enjoy wearing pants. There are so many similarities between us and that me and that dog. We're both curmudgeons. We're both barely intelligible at the best of times. So me and the duck have a lot going.
Both look fantastic in a sailor outfit.
I have never worn a sailor outfit. I should get a sailor outfit.
You haven't, but I believe that you would look fantastic.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because I'm turning 28 on Tuesday, and Donald Duck is turning, as I do, some 86?
Something like that.
1934, 86, yeah. So there you go.
Gar, we're entering somewhat of a strange period in Disney film animated history now.
The war films.
The war films. Disney released...
Some of which are, like, legitimate. This film is propaganda, by the way. The premise of... You'll get into it, but the premise of this film is literal war propaganda.
Sure is. We're entering a period of 6 package films. That's what they're described as. It's like the package era. Mm-hmm. A lot of the factors came into this. World War II, losses on recent marquee releases, unrest at the studio due to the strike, animators being drafted to the war.
The fact that the US government sent Walt Disney to South America to ease tensions there and try and restrain the Nazis, because there's like Nazi sentiment, and they sent him there so that he could be like, look guys, it's Mickey Mouse. Capitalism.
The actual studio was also commandeered basically as an army base, but the animators who remained were assigned to make training and propaganda films.
I do find that fascinating. Like the US government are like, we need to expand relations with South America in order to fight off the Nazi sentiment down there. What do? We send the Mouse Man, and he will learn the culture, and he will make a film about it.
Well, apparently the Disney characters, especially Mickey Mouse, Donald, and Goofy, were very popular down there. So they thought that was a bridge to kind of
You were going to say a bridge to Olive Branch, and you were going to mix your metaphors there.
Yeah, I was just like, I got halfway through that sentence, and I was like, wait a second.
To build a bridge toward and to extend an olive branch are both variations on the same metaphor.
The idea was that it was a goodwill tour as part of the good neighbor policy between US, Central, and South America to try and sever the ties that those South American countries had with the Nazi Party, as he correctly said.
Woo! Right in the middle. When did the US enter World War II? It was around then, wasn't it? Around 42?
Yeah, so they entered right after this, so it would have been around 42 maybe.
December 7th, 1941, according to my quick and dirty Google. So, like, while this film was in production is when they would have entered World War II. And this film, when it was released February 92, was it? Or 42, wasn't it?
92, that's when you were born.
92 is when I was born, yes. February 42, I believe. Yeah, February 42 is when it was released. So... There you go.
Yep, so right as they entered the war as an attempt to win back South America from the Nazis.
Oh, it's February 43. It was released in 42 in Brazil.
I just realised something. Is that why they say Hitler fled to Argentina? Because they love him down there?
I have no idea, but at the very least, they probably wouldn't kill him down there. This film didn't work, is what I'm saying.
The tour was facilitated by Nelson Rockefeller. No, that's wrong. The tour was facilitated by Nelson Rockefeller, who was recently appointed as coordinator.
What's wrong with your mouth? Are you having a stroke?
Maybe I should be saying this in Spanish.
You should.
As coordinator.
Oh no!
God damn it.
He's in his head. It'll never get out.
Coordinator.
There we go.
I had to slow down for a minute. Of Inter-American Affairs. He took Disney and a group of his animators, musicians and creatives down to South America for a little tour to learn about the culture, make some drawings, show off Mickey Mouse, I guess. I don't know.
Fight some Nazis. Mickey Mouse. I hate the Nazis. I'm going to kick you in the testicles.
I'm definitely not one of you. Interesting point here, Garrett. They toured Brazil, Argentina, Chile, and Peru. And a lot of those feature in the film, with the exception of Peru.
Why did they kick out Peru?
No idea. Maybe there wasn't anything interesting there.
Peru has all the Incan stuff, don't they?
I think they do, but I don't know. Maybe they didn't spend that much time there. The film itself was given federal loan guarantees because the studio had overexpanded previous to the war. And the European markets, as we discussed in previous weeks, had been cut off due to the war. Disney was suffering, so they literally got paid to make this film.
Yeah, Machu Picchu's in Peru. Come on. You couldn't be like, hey, let's make a little animated short about Machu Picchu.
Could have, I guess. It would have been too expensive. I don't know.
Well, you could have dumped one of there's 2 Donald shorts, which I don't have an objection to, but you could have dumped one of them for a Machu Picchu one.
Saludos Amigos premiered in Rio de Janeiro on August 24th, 1942. It was released in the States the following year in 43. Saludos Amigos was popular enough that Walt Disney decided to make another film about Latin America called The Three Caballeros, which we will be reviewing next week.
Spoilers. There's more Donalds, so yay.
At 42 minutes, it's the shortest Disney animated feature film to date.
It's a very easy watch.
It's a very easy watch, a very easy breezy 1 hour, sub 1 hour watch.
Unlike Fantasia, which is a number of far too long short segments, this is actually a number of nice breezy animated shorts. Get it in, get it out, under an hour. They're all about 10 minutes each. Actually, the actual animated shorts are actually probably shorter than 10 minutes because there's the live action interludes as well. Yeah. You raised some concerns that 42 minutes does not count as a feature film. Did I? I
Yes.
don't remember saying that.
You're saying, that's not really that long. And to your point, I could have maybe added in another short to bring it up to at least an hour. But according to the Academy, 40 minutes counts as a feature.
Okay. And they were like, we could add a 5th one, but there's nothing interesting in Peru, so let's just put that away.
These Inca people have nothing to say.
One of the wonders of the world? Is Machu Picchu one of the wonders of the world? It should be, if it's not.
I reckon it should be. I don't know. I haven't read about it too much.
We should go to Machu Picchu someday.
The animation is done in a traditional cartoony style, cheap and quick to produce. This film was made to save money.
Update on Machu Picchu. Saving money aside. It was voted one of the new 7 wonders of the world in 2007.
Ah, and now we know.
So it was like the amendment to the 7 wonders. Machu Picchu got in there.
So it was quick and easy to produce. The studio had lost quite a lot of money in recent films, and they were just keen to go back to recognisable and bankable characters that could bring in a bit of cash.
They were like, screw you, Bambi, roll in the duck.
And they sold out Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck for the war effort.
Well, yeah, Mickey's not in these films.
He's not, but he's in some of the propaganda films.
Yeah, so you only get, I think you said Pluto, Goofy, and Donald Duck in these films.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say it's lazy, but it very much relies on that very squashy, stretchy, cheap, quick cartoon style. We see some elements of experimentation in the final sequence. The theme of the art is painting the animation and watercolour backgrounds.
All very fancy.
Yes, very good.
It's very nice.
As the action unfolds, like, for example, it's really effective. There's some fun visual trickery where bananas are painted and they turn into toucans.
Yeah, they drop like a bit of black ink and they expand into toucans. It's very elaborate. It's very well executed. It's like, oh, this is like just, again, it's really good animation. Because shocker, Ken, after they've been doing this, when did Disney start? 19
Probably in the tens, I guess.
Sometime in there. He was 1916 or 17, I think. It's a shocker after 40 years or 30 years of doing this. They're pretty good at animating things.
And you saw the benefits of the trip that they went on, that they learned a freedom of expression and a new visual language that they wouldn't have had before.
And it doesn't feel like cultural appropriation.
It doesn't. I was afraid of that watching this.
So was I. I went into this, it's like, they're making a film about South America, and I started tugging on my collar. It's like, it's actually an honest to goodness, pretty good, like, travelogue, as opposed to, we're going to steal all their culture and appropriate it and misinterpret it and misrepresent it and then make money off of it, all of which it feels a little more sleazy. It feels, obviously I'm not an expert on South American culture, so I can't exactly speak to it, but based on my dumb, ignorant white man approach to this, it felt relatively, decent, relatively faithful to that culture without exploiting it or manipulating it too much.
It came off with a sense of sympathy and admiration that I wasn't expecting. And as well, you talk about cultural appropriation. Some of the gags actually poke fun at Westerners and their cultural appropriation and their misunderstanding of the culture.
There's an entire short dedicated to dumbass Western travelers in these places. Donald Duck is just an idiot American tourist.
Yeah, we'll dive into the shorts one by one in a minute, but as you said, the film features 4 segments, each of which begins with various clips of Disney and the artists roaming the country, drawing cartoons, and getting inspiration for the shorts that we would see coming. I actually really like that way of framing the shorts around the actual trip itself. So, like, we can actually see, they actually showed us where the genesis of the ideas for the shorts came from as they went around the different countries.
Yeah, as I said, I was pleasantly surprised at how reasonably they seem to represent South American culture.
We saw live-action documentary sequences featuring footage of modern Latin American cities with skyscrapers and fashionably dressed residents. This surprised many contemporary US viewers who associated such images with only US and European cities. So you kind of mentioned there, this would have opened the eyes of a lot of viewers in America to countries from South America that aren't just, primitive people. That's probably what they thought. They were probably all living without electricity or whatever.
They've got buildings there in South America? Gee whiz! Look at them with their plazas and their fancy clothes.
The women are wearing makeup.
It's interesting how, like, insular we are as people, and increasingly less so, but I think that's a problem with America in general in the year 2020. They're still probably too insular. Well, like when we're Ireland sitting in literally, well, not literally, but the way we generally draw the map, the middle of the world, with Europe to our depending where you stand, left, and America to your right, and we're very the opposite of insular. We're probably overly influenced by other people's cultures, and it's interesting to see other countries that may not necessarily be overly influenced by other people's countries and may not necessarily experience other people's cultures until they're retired.
Well, if you look at Ireland, our people travelled and they came back and they brought influences from different countries. And as you said, we're around a lot of different, we're like between America and Europe, where a lot of Americans, as you said, they might travel for school, they might travel when they're young. A lot of people don't because they can't afford it until they're older. And I think the vast majority, I can't remember the exact statistic, but there's a shocking amount of Americans don't even own a passport.
I think it's like a quarter of them.
Yeah, so... in school,
more. It's insane.
Yeah, in school as well, they only learn American history, which is another drawback, and American geography.
Yeah, and it's like by the time I was 18, I had probably been to 10 countries across multiple continents. By the time I was 22, like I'd been to Egypt and Japan and America and multiple European countries. And I'm probably like comparatively, I'd say probably on average, the amount I've traveled is probably about the average. The average Irish person travels. What'd you say? I think so. Maybe not like as far-reaching, because I don't think many Irish people go to Japan. But in terms of like the number of countries, like most Irish people travel across Europe in their youth.
Yeah, you're well up there. Although I have a friend that I work with, and he has only been outside of the country like a couple of times.
What kind of savagery is this?
Well, people have different circumstances, Gar. We don't want to judge.
England, though.
He only went to England for the first time fairly recently.
I don't understand if you're not like, I can't afford to go to Japan because that costs half your living for the year. But you can get on a ferry to England if you like, I don't know how much that ferry is, but I'd imagine it's relatively cheap.
Gar's never taken a ferry. He takes planes all the way.
I have been on that ferry once, I'll have you know, when I went to a Manchester United versus Sheffield United game.
How did that go?
We got on a coach, we went on the ferry, then we went over across into Wales, into the largest place name in Europe. It's like land fair, and it keeps on going for like, I don't know, 40 characters.
There's a YouTube viral video of a weatherman who manages to nail it.
Wow, well done. The Welsh language is very confusing. I'm sure they find the Irish language very confusing because we're even. And then over to Manchester and back in the space of a day. So don't you just besmirch my good name. I've been on that ferry across the Irish Sea.
I have to admit, I have not been on the ferry.
So there you go. You're there throwing stones, living in your glass house over there.
I apologise. So the first short we see is Lake Titicaca. Mm-hmm. In this segment, American tourist Donald Duck visits the titular lake and meets some locals, including an obstinate llama.
His good pal. Who's more stubborn, the llama or Donald Duck?
I think that's the funny part, because both of them are stubborn as each other.
I like llama. Llamas are hilarious. They're hilarious creatures. They're very funny looking.
They're very funny looking and very indifferent.
Yes. Stubborn idiot llamas. Of course, I was going to study the source material by traveling to South America. That was the commitment I was going to have for this podcast, but coronavirus and the prevailing circumstances have prevented me from doing so.
Yeah, I mean, you're just about to get on the plane when they said, man, you can't go anywhere.
It's funny, you were just about to get on a plane when they said, man, you can't go anywhere.
Cara, that's a bit of a sore point, and I'm going to move on with the podcast now.
Sure. Donald Duck, I was going to study the source material of Donald Duck. Instead, I studied Kingdom Hearts history of Donald Duck. Donald Duck, of course, a central character in the Kingdom Hearts series. Ken, how do you feel about this?
I love Donald. I think Donald is underutilized.
In Kingdom Hearts or in general?
In general.
Because he's a lead character in Kingdom Hearts. So obviously, Kingdom Hearts finally gives Donald Duck his due as one of the lead trio. Of course, they go to Traverse Town and Donald is like, "Gosh, no, it's goofy." I can't do a Donald impression without wrecking my throat or deeply popping the audio, so I won't do it.
Let's not assault the listeners' ears.
So Donald is like, "We've lost the king," and then they team up with Sora, who's got lost. He was in in what's the name of those islands? I had it in my head earlier. Anyway, the islands in Destiny Islands, there we go. They all get lost and then they team up to find their friends and go on an adventure about Hearts and Heartless and Nobody and Organization 13s, and it's nonsense and idiotic and it's the stupidest thing of all time, but Donald shouts ridiculous nonsense and it throws terror flares and nearly dies. It's all good fun. The Kingdom Hearts lore. Donald Duck.
I should say Donald is in the reboot of DuckTales.
Yes.
He's a main character in that. He's not like in every episode, but he's recurring in it.
How intelligible is he?
Absolutely no idea what he says most of the time.
Especially in this film, it's like, whoa, 1930s or 1940s audio quality plus Donald Duck. That doesn't go well.
Yeah, that's the original voice of Donald Duck we hear in this film.
Yeah.
And it's actually a really funny gag. It's on Disney Plus, so I recommend you watch it as a side plug. The new DuckTales, there's a running gag about how nobody could understand him. And then they get this like voice modulator in the finale where they put it down his throat and now he can speak perfectly. So it's very weird hearing him talk like an action hero. I
like Donald Duck. As I said, not just because we share a birthday. Donald is one of the more charming Disney characters.
And there was a lot of fun physical comedy in this short.
Yeah, Donald is a master of slapstick. And like Donald's whole thing really is slapstick, isn't it? It's like, it's the frickin' Sideshow Bob step on a rake and grumble kind of thing. That's the entirety of what Donald Duck's existence is.
He's perennial. I can't even say that word. He's like constantly mad at the world for no reason.
A lot of the time it's justified. The poor duck goes through a hard time. Chip and Dale torment him, and all these things happen to that poor duck, and they can't just leave him live his life.
Yeah, he's fun. But the format of Donald Duck and Goofy in these instructional films or travel guides was one that Disney used a lot during this period. Mm. And it's comedy gold. If you go on Disney Plus, there's a lot of shorts, and it's like Goofy plays football, or Donald goes to another place.
It's just fish out of water comedy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just like, let's take this idiot duck and his propensity for getting angry at literally everything and drop him in a culture he doesn't understand, in a world he has no place in, and have him get in fights with a llama and get stuck on bridges with a llama and fall off bridges with a llama.
The thing these shorts all have in common is a sassy and sarcastic narrator who describes or even influences the action. I think that is really effective and fun as well.
Because the narrator's like, and then Donald Duck went here. The idiot tourist saw this side, and Donald's like, hey.
And he kind of pokes fun tongue-in-cheek at the kind of cultural appropriation piece. How the locals have to get the picture with the village people and all this kind of stuff.
Wear the sombrero, and it's like, they're kind of stupid idiots, aren't they?
One thing that pinged in my mind about this short was that some of the depictions of llamas were very reminiscent of the character design used for Llama Cuzco in The Emperor's New Groove.
I suppose there's only so many ways you can animate llamas as well.
Not so much the animated llamas in the actual sequence, but the preamble where they drew some pictures of, there was 2 llamas and they drew pictures of them kind of as caricatures. I could really see Cusco in them.
I've never seen the Emperor's New Groove. So.
Well, you will, Gar.
I will eventually.
I don't know how many episodes, like 40 or something.
In fairness, that's one of the modern Disney ones I haven't seen. Like that and Zootopia are like 2 big blind spots for me. So there you go.
Yeah, it's a fun opener. I enjoyed it. I'd watch it alone as a standalone short as well.
Yeah, more Donald Duck in the world. The more Donald Duck, the better. Donald Duck rules.
We move on then to Pedro. Pedro is about a small anthropomorphic plane from an airport near Santiago, Chile, engaging in his first flight to retrieve the mail from Mendoza with disastrous consequences.
Very enforcing gender stereotypes with those planes, aren't they?
Yeah. Daddy plane is strong, but now he's not strong because he's sick today. The mommy plane has high blood pressure, so she can't fill in. I guess the kid has to do it rather than the woman. The unqualified, inexperienced child plane can fill in because the woman can't do it because she gets the vapors.
Yeah. Nonetheless, I thought it was a charming little short.
It does, and they have re-released it over the years as a kind of a preamble to feature films.
Like Planes.
Yes.
Like the 2000 and whatever film Planes, or Planes 2, or Planes 3, or Planes Fire Rescue.
I was going to mention that the style is very reminiscent of the Cars universe and subsequent Plane series. I'm not saying planned since then, but I think, as you said, there's only so many character designs. And
yeah, how do you anthropomorphize planes? There's only so many ways you can do it. It's basically put a mouth and eyes on the front of the plane.
Yeah, so when Disney artists research for films, I imagine they have all these resources at their fingertips. And also, as Disney animators, I'm sure they're well versed in the history of the animation. So when they see something that they like, they probably took it away in their subconscious.
And yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if Disney is so like hands-on and neurotic and consistent that they're like, we must always have the planes looking the same. This is the way Disney planes look.
I thought this was a fun premise. It was well executed. It had a great punchline. So he basically risks his life to get the mail back to Santiago, and it turns out there was only one postcard.
That was a great punchline. And they're just like, and he looks at it and he's like, God damn it. All right.
All right. I guess I risked my life for nothing then. That's okay.
Wait, there's only 2 Planes films?
Yeah.
There's Planes, and there's Planes Fire and Rescue.
I didn't even know there was a second one, if I'm honest.
There's apparently cancelled spin-offs, and yeah, a Planes short film titled Vitamin Mulch Air Spectacular was released on the DVD and Blu-ray of Planes Fire and Rescue, so there's a short as well attached to Planes. I thought there was like 7 Planes films. I thought they just kept like churning out straight to DVD sequels.
No, I've only seen the first one, so I don't really know anything beyond that.
I haven't seen any of the Planes franchise.
Well, Gar, you're just plain ignorant.
They did make Planes video games, I think.
I'd play that.
I haven't played it, but I think they made it.
I wouldn't pay to play it, but I'd like to play as an airplane that has a face.
It was released on Wii U, Wii, Nintendo 3DS, and Nintendo DS. In the year 2013 as well. Like, the 2013, they're like, oh, the Nintendo DS had been a defunct system for 2 years, but let's still release it on that.
People are really going to clamber to play it on those consoles.
I guess people that still technically have DSs.
The third segment featured Goofy. It's called El Gaucho Goofy.
Gorsh!
Gosh! You can do a Goofy impression.
Yeah, because you don't have to pop off the radar. Oh, we're not going to cover a Goofy movie on this, are we?
We talked about possible spin-offs, so we might get there eventually.
So yeah, when we cover all the other films, we will have to eventually get to a Goofy movie, and then a very Goofy movie, which is the sequel, isn't it?
Yeah, not as good.
I don't remember either. Oh, I vaguely remember the first one.
The second one is where Max goes to college and Goofy follows him.
Yeah. If we cover all the spin-offs, Ken, we'll cover Doug's first movie.
Oh my god, I went to that as a kid and...
We both did, remember?
I think we walked out because it was so boring.
No, we sat through it because I remember me, you and Ed went to the cinema. Ed went to see the Will Smith film Wild Wild West while we were dumped off to Doug's first movie.
I can't remember a thing about it. I think there was a lake monster and pollution.
And I remember because the Doug movie ended much earlier, so we were hanging around for like 20 minutes after until Ed finished seeing Wild Wild West.
Doug started life as a Nickelodeon property. And then I think the contract ran out, and like Disney is like, we gotta get Doug.
That's what we need on the Disney Channel. It's like, we have Recess, but we're lacking Doug.
We gotta get this mediocre 1990s cartoon.
So they really landed Doug, and they're like, we gotta do Doug right. Nickelodeon didn't do justice by Doug. We need to give Doug his own feature film released in theaters.
Doug's first and last movie. In the Gaucho segment, American cowboy Goofy gets mysteriously taken to the Argentinian Pampas to learn the ways of the native gaucho. I thought that was actually really funny. So it starts off with Goofy in Texas, and the narrator just picks him up and flings him across the map into Argentina.
And there was a bunch of really nice scene transitions in this where like literally the frame would just push Goofy off of the screen or like close in on Goofy.
There was a lot of snappy comedy, satisfying gags, surreal humor, as you mentioned, breaking that fourth wall.
I forgot to mention the best gag in the planes one, where they were like, and he studied all of the things in school, including plane anatomy. And then they showed a skeleton of a plane.
It was like a real human skeleton.
Yeah, but in the shape of a plane. And that was a very good gag.
I popped for that. I forgot about that. Well,
good joke.
Good catch, Gar.
Also, in that, mountains are assholes.
Yeah.
Because you had the Night in the Bald Mountain, or Boulder Bald. Is it Bold Mountain or Bald Mountain?
Bald Mountain.
Bald Mountain, yes, from Fantasia, where the mountain is an asshole. And then you have the asshole mountain in this, pushing the plane down. So Disney canon. And I actually think there was a little callback to Night in the Bald Mountain there. If you listen to the score, I think there's a little musical sampling in there from Night in the Bald Mountain. Maybe I'm hearing this, but go back and listen to it. I think it's there.
I wouldn't be surprised. Gorsh! The original short showed Goofy smoking a cigarette, and it was edited.
But there isn't the cigar smoking parrot thing?
There is in the next segment.
In the next segments, are like cigars are fine, but cigarettes are off the table.
So it's been re-released over the years in both versions, censored and uncensored. Apparently fans were desperate to see
Goofy
Snoopy
smoking. I've never understood that. Like the people that'd be like, "Don't you censor my toonies?" And it's like, they took a cigarette out. Would you stop it? As if, this is the most integral part of the storytelling in this experience. And people are like, "Oh."
I find that interesting over the years where Disney was a lot more liberal with the characters, and it's very loosey-goosey and kind of almost like they're anthropomorphized adult characters where they're smoking cigarettes and they're drinking, doing all these different things. And then over the years, as they became valuable properties, they try to strip out some of that history in order to kind of desanitize them and make them more appealing to kids and parents.
And as like people clutch their pearls more at, how dare you kill off Bambi's mother? That's far too serious for children. How dare you? Like, they're smoking and drinking it from children in Pinocchio. So, like, come on.
Yeah, I thought the comedy was really good in this one as well.
Yeah, I liked all of these. I thought all of these were... Actually, no, I didn't like the last one. I thought the last one was kind of boring. But the first three, I liked.
Moving on, as you mentioned there, to Aquarela de... Oh, God damn it. Aquarela de Brazil.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, in fairness, this had an interesting style.
Yes,
like
it did.
The real life
color painting coming to life,
the real life animator drawing the action as we unfold. Maybe a bit long, I thought.
Look, it's basically one musical number. That's the crux of it is one big musical number. But there's a prelude and a prologue, epilogue. But there's the end. There we go. And Donald gets drunk and is dragged from bar to bar.
He drinks cachaça.
He's literally tipsy as he's being dragged through the Brazilian nightclub scene.
This introduces the character of Jose Carioca, cigar smoking parrot, as you said.
Mm-hmm. It was a apparently famous character in Brazil.
Nope.
Was that?
Nope.
I thought that character already existed.
No, they invented him.
Really?
Yeah, he's an invention of this to represent Brazilian culture.
All right. I'm stupid. That's a Gar fact. Oh no.
Oh my God, the very first Gar fact.
We've invented Gar facts. No.
As I said, Aquarela is actually Brazilian for watercolour. It's an unfolding watercolour picture as we move through the scene, and Donald and Jose are introduced to Brazil and the samba music. They made great effect of the samba music here, actually, in that the movement and the action is actually timed to the samba, which I thought was very effective, and I actually enjoyed the samba music. I found myself tapping my foot as it went along.
Yeah, it's good music. It's just, I don't know.
Couple of observations here, Gar. They draw the scene as we go along. So they were drawing some flowers, and then at one point they draw flowers with sexy red lips. That was a bit upsetting.
You and your freaking attraction to flowers and fish and anything that's made remotely attractive in these films.
So many sexy plants.
Sexy plants, sexy fish, sexy hippos. Ken is so horny watching these films.
There's definitely porn somewhere on the internet of this.
Oh, 100%.
Jose Carioca Gar is a little known character, not used very much. He's used in the sequel, obviously, the Three Caballeros.
Spoilers.
Sorry, sorry, yeah. Wait till next week to find out about that. He's also in the DuckTales reboot. But that's the fun thing about the DuckTales reboot, actually. A lot of these bird characters that are forgotten or a bit obscure, they come back as characters in DuckTales.
They're like, we got to dig out this is a tribute to all of the bird characters. All the poultry and fowl characters from the entire history of Disney will be represented here in DuckTales. Life is like a hurricane.
Ooh.
Here in Duckburg. Duckburg, the original name of my Animal Crossing town in Animal Crossing. I think Let's Go to the City is what I called it Duckburg, as opposed to my Animal Crossing New Horizons island, which is called Sea Rock.
Very much less imaginative.
It's a rock in the sea. What more do you want? It's an island. That's what islands are.
I don't really have much to say about the music of this film, other than I thought that the South American music was underutilized.
I think Nicole covers it well in the back half of the show.
She does.
Back half, as if she talks for 40 minutes.
Nicole's coming right at the end and she gives us a good overview of the music. The only thing I will say, as I said, I think at the start and at the end, there's, like, as I said, the fourth short is based mostly on the song. It's an animated song. But in the other sections, we don't really hear much of the South American music. They rely on a safer, most likely cheaper, slapstick score for most of the shorts.
Yeah, unlike Bambi, where I very much like, oh, this score is actually, like, actively fantastic. I don't think I remarked on the score at all in this film. I don't think, like, at any stage did the score of this film go, like, did my brain go, oh, that's interesting, or that's a nice little piece of music, or that works. So that says it's neither bad nor good. It's just there.
It is, and it was nominated for Best Original Song for Saludos Amigos, Best Score, and Best Sound at the Academy Awards.
There you go. Must have been a bad year then.
Yeah, because it's not memorable at all, and the soundtrack is very short. It's like 3 songs, I think.
Well, it's a 40-minute film, so there hardly 3 songs covers about a quarter of the film, more than likely.
Pretty much. Overall, the package, I thought, was fun, and I liked the way that there was a central theme. As we go forward through these package films, they're a little bit more loosey-goosey with the relevance of them, how they're all interconnected. This had like a theme. It was a tour of South America facilitated by Walt Disney and his characters. I thought it was a really, really strong package.
Yeah, I would put it in the pleasant surprise category, where it's like, it's not essential by literally any means. Like, it's not one of the things that if you're like, of the whatever we have, 58, I'll remember the number eventually, I think it's 58.
58, correct.
Yeah, of the 58 films, if you're like, which are the top 10 that you absolutely must watch, even if which are the top 20 you absolutely must watch, I would probably under no circumstances put Saludos Amigos in that category. But if you're like, if I have an hour to kill and I have a Disney Plus subscription, if I sit down and watch this, will I be upset and feel like I wasted my time? And the answer is no. Quite frankly, the opposite. You'll be like, oh, that's a nice little enjoyable time. And as I said, the real pleasant surprise is that they represented a culture other than their own in a way that seems at least respectful.
And sensitive.
Yes.
In terms of the legacy of this film, Gar, Charles Richard Jr. has commented that Saludos Amigos did more to cement a community of interest between the peoples of the Americas in a few months than the State Department did in 50 years.
Well, the US State Department doesn't generally have a good track record of fostering peace among the world.
Yeah, but to your point, people saw this and they were interested in South America and they learned they had more in common with these people than they thought, so it opened people's eyes.
They have buildings too.
They have boiling water.
What?
The film also inspired Chilean cartoonist René Rios Bottager, I think his name's Pepe, his cartoonist name, to create Condorito, one of the most famous cartoon characters in South American history. Mm-hmm. The reason was, you'll find this funny, he found Pedro to be a slight on the Chilean people.
How so?
Well,
I wouldn't have thought that Pedro was felt like more of a stock animation character than a particularly like South American influenced character.
Well, his take was Pedro was depicted as weak, and he thought that was a slight on the Chilean people.
All right.
Condorito is a child, but he's a condor. So he wears shorts, but he's also bald from head to toe. He's very strange. Check him out. I didn't look at it too much, but I looked at some of the comics on the internet, and he's kind of creepy. And he survives to this day. He's like the Mickey Mouse of South America.
There you go.
The rage from this film inspired this. I think, as we said earlier, the evidence of the character designs and concepts that would come to fruition decades later, it's seen in this film. Nothing goes to waste in Disney, as we said. I don't think this was directly inspired or just these things were planned down the line, but I can see parallels from this film to other films, and I think that this was like a rejuvenating trip for a lot of the animators as they went forward. And, you know, as we know, in the next decade or 2 decades, they produced some of their best and most lasting work. So I think the influences from this trip are evident going forward, but also I think the rejuvenation and the mind-expanding nature of this trip really helped their work to become better.
Yeah, it's not like the Bambi one where you watch Bambi and you're like, oh geez, they just made The Lion King based entirely off this. Like, I don't think they made The Emperor's New Groove based on the llamas in this. I don't think they made Planes based on the planes in this. But yeah, some of that artistic canon probably carried through. The artistic DNA within Disney carried on to the 2013 film Planes.
And its direct-to-video sequel, Planes, Fire and Rescue.
Yes, which we will cover someday, maybe.
You won't believe it, dear listeners, but we've nearly come to the end of the podcast for another week. Resident musical expert Nicole is coming up in just a few minutes with a song from Saludos Amigos, but first, the sales pitch. You can find new episodes of Magic by Design every Monday where all magical podcasts are downloaded. Check out our website, magicbydesign.buzzsprout.com. That's buzz like a bee and sprout like those vegetables that I like but nobody else does. To find a full list of podcast providers. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/magicbydesignpod, on Twitter at magicdesignpod, and on the Insta at magicbydesignpod.
I assume you're still posting things. I haven't checked.
I sure am. Gar, you're an avid follower, I thought.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
If you like the show and want to help us out, please consider giving us a positive review on your podcast platform of choice, share the podcast on your socials, or simply tell a friend that you're a listener to this Disney podcast and it's muy caliente.
There you go.
More Spanish for you. Word of mouth and recommendations really helps us to grow, and we would truly appreciate your help in bringing new listeners to our show.
We're 6 episodes in?
6 episodes in. We've got 52 to go. We're not turning around at this point.
We haven't missed a single week. It's been there waiting for you at midnight Irish time as I put some pressure on Ken to get it out by that time this week. But do it, Ken, do it!
It'll be there. Don't worry, it'll be there like clockwork.
Yeah. Wish Donald a happy birthday. Don't forget that.
We will be back next week at the same time, same place, with Disney's 7th animated feature, The Three Caballeros. But until then, stay safe and remember, llamas are no good in a crisis. Now, Nicole is here to play us out with an attempt at Aquarela de Brasil from Saludos Amigos, and some fun facts about the music of the film. Vámonos, Nicole!
Hello there, Disney fans. This is your musical correspondent, Nicole, coming to you live from my bedroom. This week, we're looking at the relatively unknown Disney animation, Saludos Amigos. The film's score was composed by our buddy, Edward H. Plum, along with Paul J. Smith and Charles Walcott. Though not well known, the film was nominated for Academy Awards in 1943 for the music alone, including Best Musical Score, Best Original Song for the title piece, and Best Sound Recording. The song we're focusing on this week is Aquarela do Brasil, meaning watercolours of Brazil, written by the popular Brazilian songwriter Ari Barroso and performed by Alioso de Oliveira. Ari was one of Brazil's most famous songwriters of the 20th century, while Olicio was a key figure in the internationalization of Brazilian popular music. The song was first written and performed in 1939, but did not have much success until the film release when it became an international hit, making it the first Brazilian song to be played millions of times on American radio. Now, I cannot speak Portuguese, so I wasn't going to make a crude attempt of this song in its native language, so I've sung an English translation. I hope you enjoy it.
Brazil, my Brazilian Brazil, my good-looking mulatto. I'm going to sing you in my verses. Oh, Brazil, samba that gives, a swing that makes you sway. Oh, Brazil,